Hey everybody, Aaron here from Cool Guys Who Sit at Home, and tonight is the 16th night of the competition, which puts us just past the halfway point. I wanted to give you guys an update on what I've been doing. So as you can see, this is my Eldar army. I have pretty much everything assembled except one tank, and I decided to do some custom work. I've been magnetizing my heavy weapons platform. There we go. And I have a bunch of different weapons that go on there. And I decided that I'm also going to magnetize the walker. But I wanted to do a how-to, and tonight I'm going to do a how-to on making custom bases. These are really simple. They're very easy to do. They also look pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up for that. And tonight's video will be a how-to make a easy, quick, good-looking custom base. And to make our base, we are going to need the following supplies. Paint, you're going to need a bucket of Lich Purple, Skull White, and Bleached Bone. You're going to need a detail brush and a dry brush, medium, a pen. You either need your regular X-Acto blade or a heavy-duty X-Acto blade. You're going to need PVA glue, super glue, of course your bases, and fine sand. Now this sand I did not buy, I went to the beach and picked it up, but you're going to need fine sand, not coarse. And I'll show you why you don't want coarse sand, but fine sand instead. Lastly, you're going to need a piece of cardstock, and I have these scissors. These scissors are really fantastic. You can pick them up at any art supply store. They are extremely sharp. They cut cardstock very, very easily. Just snip it and you get perfect clean cuts. Much easier than using the X-Acto blade. So I'd really recommend picking up a pair of these. They make this project really quick. Now the point of this is not to get into really fine basing. It's not to make something absolutely crazy, but it's to add a nice custom touch to your army that doesn't take too long and that's pretty easy. Our final look are going to be kind of random. We have these different looks, and you can actually use this method to make a whole bunch of things. Tile, streets. I'm doing kind of a weird geometric alien thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this project. It's pretty quick. So you start with your cardstock, and you're going to put your base down on the cardstock. Take your pen and draw a circle around it. We're going to use this as a frame of reference. Something about this basing is that you don't want to have your miniature glued to the base beforehand. It's very easy to make bases and paint them and then attach your unit on afterwards. So my bases, I'm going to be attaching my units on after I finish painting the unit. Makes it a lot easier to get a clean custom look. But this base is pretty easy. So we drew our circle. Now we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to cut out. And like I said, this isn't precise. I'm not cutting out a circle. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I just kind of want to get this piece cut out. Because again, the point of this project is to get an army done in a reasonable amount of time, in a month. And it's nice to add little custom details to your army. So now that we have this piece, it's roughly the same size as our base. We're actually going to be making things a little bit bigger than our base, which is okay. Now you just have to come up with a pattern that you're going to want to cut out. So I like making some triangles. I just kind of draw it out beforehand. Keep straight lines. Straight lines are very easy to cut with an X-Acto blade. So I have some pieces, and I'm going to take my regular X-Acto blade, and I'm just going to cut it out. Okay, there's one piece. And then I'm going to grab my super glue and I'm going to start gluing these onto the base in relatively the same pattern. And the trick is that we want to leave cracks, spaces in between our pieces that give us a little bit of depth. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep cutting this out. You're going to produce a lot of scrap. And again, depending on how fancy you want to get, you know, you could spend a lot of time making a custom design, making streets or tiles. You can then spend even more time, you know, painting them really precise. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a really easy, really quick design that makes it very easy to dry brush, get a texture down, and be done with it, and have some cool custom bases, but not have spent every waking moment trying to customize it. So I'm just going to let that glue down. As you can see, I have a little space in between, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep cutting out my design. Okay, now I'm gonna go with some triangles. Okay, so there we have it. We have our design. Now we need our PVA glue and our sand. And I like to work in the lid of the sand. So put that there. And then we just take a little bit of PVA glue. I do it on my finger, but you don't have to do it on your finger. You can use a brush or something. And I only want it on the tops. I don't want to let the PVA glue drip into the cracks. I only want it on my surfaces that I just glued, because we're going to keep those cracks black. So okay, now we are going to apply the sand, and you just drizzle it on. Now, you don't want to use coarse sand. You want to use very fine sand. And the reason that you want to use the fine sand is if you use coarse sand, you get these big bumps, and it does not dry brush very well. The light sand, you put it on, you let it sit, you shake it off, you base coat it, and then all you have to do is dry brush 2 colors on it, and it looks fantastic, and it's very, very quick. So now I just need to let that one sit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move to one that I've already painted. I've base coated with Lich Purple, and I did not paint in between the cracks. The cracks are still black, we only have there. So I'm going to go ahead and take my bleached bone and my fine detail brush, and I'm going to very quickly just paint a line around the edge of each platform. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. We're not working on master class. We're just adding a little bit of detail. Now I had actually watered down my paint in the pot, but again, this doesn't have to be perfect. You know, this is a competition. We're trying to get it done in a month. Just want to add a little bit of flair to your units. Okay, so now they're all edged. And I'm going to mix my bleached bone again. I'm going to grab my medium dry brush. And I'm just going to dry brush with the bleach bone. I'm going to show you right now why you want the fine sand and not the coarse sand. Fine sand is very easy to pick up some nice detail. Without a whole lot of work. Simple as that. If you have the coarse sand, then it's much more difficult to dry brush. As you can see, it's just kind of clumping together. It's looking brush stroked. It's not nearly as nice. So you really want to use fine sand and not GW coarse sand. So now that we have the bleach bone, we're going to finish it off with some Scalt White. Again, we're just going to dry brush. And there you go. And that is the bases that I'm doing. And as you can see, I have lots of different styles and patterns. You can go as crazy as you want with this. There we go. So that's it. Those bases are very simple, very easy. They're going to add a nice element. They only took me, do all the bases for my entire army have only taken me a little bit of time, but they add a really nice custom element. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And along with, my tank, which I've magnetized, I think I'm going to have some nice custom elements. It really didn't take me too much more time. I'm looking pretty good for finishing by the end of the month. My big concern is, of course, the vehicle, which I still have to put together and paint. But other than that, feeling pretty good about my project. Yeah. And one super geeky nerd thing is I got my full collection of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I finally found it for $100 on eBay used, but they seem to be in really good condition, and so I've just been sitting here working on my miniatures and watching me some Picard. So I will check in with you guys a little bit later this week, and hopefully I'll start getting my units painted, but I hope you enjoyed that how-to. It's a really simple, really quick, nice way to make some bases.